welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. Today I'm chatting to Diana Chan. I must admit to being slightly starstruck when talking to Diana, and when I say slightly, please read enormously. Diana is the 2017 MasterChef Australia winner and beams a sunny and positive presence out through her socials. So you can imagine my excitement when PR company Harvey Taylor got in touch to see if I'd like a chat. Of course I would. I asked Diana what her greatest successes have been over the last 4 years since leaving a corporate job working for Deloitte to take part in MasterChef and then launch a career as a celebrity chef. Tough question, actually. Diana has had so many successes. The one she shared is certainly a standout. The range of dumplings she put out with Golden Wok were the 2020 top-selling product in the freezer section of Coles and Woolworths, with 21 million pieces sold and customers wanting more. Diana is, obviously, a firm believer in giving things a go, and next on the agenda is her own range of homewares. As she was talking about these, I was making frenzied notes to self to buy these when they come out. This was an incredibly uplifting chat on a lockdown day in Melbourne, and I'm grateful for Diana's generosity of spirit in sharing so much with me. Hello.
Hi, Jo.
It is Jo. How are you?
I'm good. So how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very excited to be talking to you. So thank you in advance for your time.
Thanks for this. This is awesome.
With all that's going on at present, where are you and how are you?
Where am I? I'm currently in the COVID-ridden state of Melbourne, Victoria, Melbourne, and no, I mean, look, it's life's been okay. Life's been okay since last year. You kind of just adapt, I guess. And it's been really sort of like there's been lots of challenging times, but I always remind myself like I'm not the only one in this position. Everyone you speak to has definitely gone through some bad times last year. But yeah, it's you just get on with life and try and remain positive as you can. I guess.
Absolutely. I'm also in Melbourne, so I'm
You are. So you're in the same boat.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where you're just over it. But just definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it is what it is, and I'm sort of, I haven't really found, the lockdown too bad if you just had a routine almost. Like I find that helps. You get up and I'll exercise and I'll make sure that I still go to bed early. It's not a holiday at the end of the day. It's even though you've got nothing really to wake up and look forward to. I tend to try and stay positive and treat it like any other day, because that kind of has helped me get through it.
Yeah, well, I think that's really good advice, and I've been doing the same thing. I think, I think I'm lucky in the fact that I have got work to do, and so that gives me a routine as well. So I think I am really grateful for those things and for being able to achieve that routine and sense of purpose in my day. So I feel for those that haven't got work. I think that's a lot more of a challenge, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I find it, I try and do the things that, given what I do, because I'm quite flexible myself, I try and help out where I can, within the community, and whether that's, doing some food rescue stuff or just like on Monday I hosted this cooking class for St. Vincent's Hospital and for the emergency department, because all the staff were, highly under stress. And, it was just something as a night off. And we did a little dumpling making class. Yeah, so things like that, I guess it helps. You know, you help where you can.
Absolutely, and I think that's lovely. And I think, obviously, we always talk about food being an aspect of joy in our lives, and if you're able to, give them something different to think about, I think it's a lovely thing to do.
Absolutely. I said it's no skin off my nose. Like it's easy enough for me to do it. It's like any other day, really. And I actually kind of gives me a purpose.
Exactly right. And
Yeah.
and obviously, you're now known in the food world. I'm interested in the role that food played when you were growing up.
I think for me, obviously coming from a Malaysian background, an Asian background, food is like the pinnacle of every household. I find it's it's where we have our conversations around the dinner table about our days, about life in general. So we would have, mum would always sit us down at the dinner table over dinner, and we talk about, all the kids would talk about like how was your day at school, like what did we get up to, or like my dad would talk about his work, and food kind of reminds me so much of home in terms of family. And I think that's what that's the biggest thing I've sort of taken away from like food. It's not just food for fuel. It's food that feeds your soul in terms of. When I think of food, I think of family, and I think of that moment rather than the food itself.
And for you, home is Malaysia, is that?
Yeah, so home is now in Melbourne, but so I've lived here for 15 years now. But yeah, I grew up in Malaysia. I moved over when I was 18, and it's been great. Like I do, pre-COVID, I was going back maybe 2-3 times a year back to Malaysia. Yeah, and mum and dad are still there. My brother as well. So. Thank God for Zoom, really, and Skype and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. I was doing a bit of reading because I read on your website about the Baba Nyonya community.
Baba Nyonya,
yeah. And I was quite fascinated because that led me down a bit of a rabbit hole of what what that means, and I read and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if the website I read was wrong, but it talked about Baba and Nyonya as being respectful and endearing terms for men and women, and that women were primarily responsible for providing meals for the family and community, and that's why the style of cuisine is referred to as Nyonya. Is that right?
100%, yeah. So Baba's the man, and then Nyonya is the female, and it basically came from like obviously the settlers that moved. So Baba Nyonya, basically, let's just go back to that.
Yeah.
Or otherwise known as Peranakan.
Yeah.
They are Straits-born Chinese. So if you think about the Straits of Malacca, there's Penang at the top, Malacca in the middle, and then Singapore. So these three areas. So back then, Singapore was part of Malaya. So before Malaysia was known as Malaysia, it was known as Malaya. So Singapore was actually part of Malaya. So all under the same governance. And these three ports were really strategic for trade. So any trade that sort of came from China, India would come and settle at these ports, and then off they went to other parts of the world. So that's where all the settlers from like China, for example, where they brought like all the silks and the spices or whatever, they settled at these ports and they intermarried with the local Malays. And that's where this culture came about. So it's sort of like it's like a hybrid. You've got like the Chinese sort of culture in terms of the religion, the background, the food, but then they also married the locals, which had their own different cultures, and that's how it kind of formed this quite unique subculture within Malaysia. And there's not too many of us left. My mom always says to me, I'm like the last generation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Because unless I marry a Baba boy, like I probably wouldn't be able to continue. But whatever, that's not true. I I think it's it's really interesting because the food is also quite different, and it's so unique to that area alone, which is why it makes it so different.
And what are the features of their food?
Yeah, so it's a lot of I think the easiest way for me to explain is think about your real traditional Chinese dishes. So lots of soup bases, lots of stews. You think about the provinces in China where it's cold and there's all that slow cooking, that sort of style. But then you use in Malaysia a lot of tropical ingredients where there's a lot of spices like chili. So it's you're taking something that's quite from China where it's all quite not bland but quite neutral in flavor, very mild, and then you use all the local spices to sort of mix it in and the local ingredients, and that's kind of creating this mishmash of flavor. It's it is fusion to a T because it's mixing all these different flavors and creating these random dishes, and this is why the cuisine is, I feel it's a dying trait because nobody really knows, because all these dishes were created at home. There are dishes that I've had which my mum has created or has fed me, and the only reason I know about it is because of her. I wouldn't know about it outside, or the reason she would know about it is because my grandmother would have taught her how to do it. And that's how this whole culture kind of formed back in the day. Yeah. So it's some really interesting dishes, usage of there's one dish known as tamarind fish, and it's yes, okay, you get fish there and all that kind of stuff, and it's in a form of a gravy, stew, slow cook, but not slow cook because it's got really fresh ingredients inside, and then it's got all these herbs like Vietnamese mint, got kaffir lime, lemongrass, so really vibrant flavors.
You're right. So you would have been in the kitchen with your mum and your grandma when you were growing up, is that?
Yeah, we were. Well, I was mainly in the kitchen, but I always say this, I never really got the chance to cook at home because my mom was the chef and the cook in the house, and so it was. But I think because of that, it's great because of the foundation that I got through. She would give me a whole thing of bowl of onions, and she'd be peel onions, or peel garlic, or she wouldn't use a nutcracker to crack the ginkgo nuts open. You'd have to use the hammer and do it old school. She wouldn't use the food processor to make paste, use a pestle and mortar, and literally bang it on the floor. And back then I would have been so grumpy about it. So they're why do I have to do this? It's so many years, and we're living in the 20th century. Do we actually have to do this by hand? But it's interesting because from there I kind of learned the basics of cooking.
Yeah.
And it's not so much me cooking; it's just me watching her cook and understanding. It's back to basics, and that's what kind of makes me understand food a lot better.
I think that is a fascinating idea, and I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, that's what a lot of those chefs do when they are apprentices, and they'd go into Gordon Ramsay's kitchen, and you get them picking the herbs for 10 hours a day. You'd be like, why am I doing this? But you kind of had your own apprenticeship in doing that, and as you say,
I did it when I was 5.
Yeah, that's right.
It's cheap labour. But no, it's I think that all comes from your childhood upbringing and just understanding. And I think when you work with not food but just ingredients at a very young age, you understand the provenance of food and how they grow and where they come from, or how where. And you go to a market, you get the fish. Okay, that's where it's the local fish, or then you start to understand a lot more about ingredients.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, it's because I was one of my questions was I was interested in what self-taught meant for you, because when we describe you going along to MasterChef and so on, you're a self-taught chef or cook.
Yeah.
And so obviously you've got that background, which
Mhm.
was a really excellent background. But then where did you go? Like, what's the next step for you in Melbourne, for example? No, did you just start experimenting with food? Did you read
Yeah.
lots of books?
I think so. I moved out of home when I was 17. So pre Melbourne, I was already living out of home for like 2 years.
Mm.
And whilst I didn't cook so much there, like at 17, because over there in Malaysia, you get like food is pretty cheap and fast, and shops and restaurants open till late. So you can get food any time of the day. Really, you can get food if you felt hungry at 2 a.m. You can run out to the local coffee shop and get something to eat. So one, it's cheap, and two, it's accessible. And I think part of the reason why I didn't cook so much when I was like a teenager was because that was present. Then I moved to Australia, and I'm like, oh my god, like it is so expensive to eat out. Like, and also as a uni student, like you're not making money yet. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I actually have to get a job, like to like support my lifestyle of like eating and stuff. Because you grow up at home, you always have food laid out on the table and mum pays for it. Like you never have to fork out for anything, which is great. And then you suddenly have to figure that out yourself. And that's when I really like, okay, get it all together. You gotta, go to the market, shop for ingredients. You gotta find the best deals, and then just learn how to cook. Using what I already knew, kind of thing. So I watched a lot of cooking, food travel shows. I remember like Lonely Planet was. I grew up watching a lot of Lonely Planet, Anthony Bourdain, like that sort of like food and travel was like a big thing for me. I just loved understanding where food came from and what people ate where. And so like naturally when I moved to Australia, I was like, I just had to sort of fend for myself.
Wow. Or necessity is a great teacher.
Exactly. Yeah, you do it because you have to.
Yeah.
And then you kind of find enjoyment out of that. So even better.
And so from there, I mean, this is probably a worn-out story, around the time that you won. But what was the next step from that to deciding to go on MasterChef?
Yeah. So I guess because I was working in a corporate environment. I was working for Deloitte, and I was there for 4 years or something. And I would often bring food in and leftover food for my colleagues, and everyone's like, oh, you're really good. Like you should try out MasterChef. And I already started watching it when I moved here. And I think when I moved here in 2006, I think it was 2008 or 2009, that was the first season of MasterChef. And I kept watching it. I actually religiously followed MasterChef, not knowing that one day I would, be in it. But I sort of, I always watched it and I was like, oh, I could do that. Maybe I could. And then, just basically like, why not give it a crack? If there was any time to do it, and my mates are like, you should definitely, go for it and just see how you go. And that's when it all kind of started. I decided to just give it a go, not knowing like, or had no intentions of winning it, to be honest. Like just as long as I could get in and I could like not be the first one out, I was happy. And then I kind of like realized, oh, okay, like it's not that hard to get to like the top 10, or like there's a few people I can like kind of kick out and like feel like I'm better than them. So you get into this competition mode, and naturally I'm quite a competitive person anyway. So yeah, that's kind of like where it all started. And then lo and behold, next minute, like you're in the winning, like you're in the running to win this whole thing. Like may as well go all out, right?
Yeah. Amazing. Congratulations. I mean, I know you would have been so congratulated over the years, but it is an amazing thing to have done. And is it the kind of environment that can you learn in that environment as well? Did you learn some things there, or are you just constantly kind of in this state of adrenaline? And
no, you definitely definitely learned. So and a lot of people don't know this, it is actually like the toughest, longest filming reality TV show in the world. It is also one of the toughest, I would say. Not physically, but like mentally draining, because you're from the start to the end. If you get all the way to the end, 7 months of filming. So if you put it into context, like 7 months of basically living in a house with 23 other random people, strangers that you've never met.
Yeah.
With different personalities, all from different backgrounds. It can actually be pretty intense. Intense. But at the same time, you have no internet, you have no phones, so you can't contact your family or friends or loved ones.
Wow.
When they say it's intense, and this doesn't happen now anymore. It was in my season and before, where we wouldn't have phones and all that. So it's a dry house and no alcohol at all. And you really are so focused because you only have one thing to do, and that's to cook. So that's how, like, I would say I was good at the start, but I am nowhere nowhere near as good as at the end. Because you have 7 months of focusing on just the one thing, and that is to be better at cooking or presenting or just making the best dish and winning the challenge. That's your main focus. And we get a lot of help as well in terms of in the house. Like, we get like chefs that come in, and we always say like it's one of the best things. Like, if you're starting out to be like an apprentice chef, you can go and do like 10 hours in the kitchen or whatever, but you've got this access to all the top chefs from around the world that will help you and guide you and give you tips and things that like apprentice chefs actually dream of.
Absolutely. What an incredible time. And as you say, without the outside world and other responsibilities, that's a dream, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. All you have to do is focus on like cooking. That's
amazing. So then once you won, and then suddenly your name and your face are everywhere, does being a celebrity chef bring a certain responsibility? Yes, definitely.
I think you predominantly, I would say, like, maintaining that sort of presence in social, in like across your social media platform, and I think that's probably the easiest way and the most used forum or way to get across to people or fan base platform kind of thing. I think it is, people who follow me will tend to follow me because of they know that that I'll post something good about food, or like do a bit of research or share a recipe, and because I think the majority of people that use these platforms as well are women, or based at home or home cooks or whatever. They would look at these posts and stuff and would maybe make that dish after. So I think there is a little bit of a responsibility in terms, I feel, for me to share, and not because I not because I feel pressured to do it or anything. I feel that I want to give back, and it's something that I love doing anyway. So it doesn't bother me, and it's nice to share, and I think it's also rewarding in terms of, whilst I don't have a restaurant, I get to share these recipes or tips, tricks or whatever online, and people follow and do it, and the reach is pretty wide.
Yeah. And did you have to have your brand, or do you even think do you have a brand, or are you just you?
Yeah,
did you have to have that sorted straight out the gate, or do you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I kind of went into MasterChef with a very open mind, and also very open mind and very, how should I say this? No expectations. Yeah. So I kind of like, if I do well, great. If I don't do well, that's fine. I still have a job. I can go back to my job because I took sabbatical leave. So I think, it was sort of, I had a plan, like a loose plan. It's far from it right now.
What
4 years on.
What was the plan?
So the plan was to own a restaurant, and it was to do, really healthy takeaway food.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not what I do now. But like I still do healthy, I share healthy recipes and stuff like that. Just not in a restaurant form. I did dabble, and I had a little pop-up restaurant for 7 months, and that went really well. But my God, that took the life out of me.
Well, that's not just about. I mean, there's so much involved with that, isn't there? It's business. It's a business, and it's food profit. I mean, that's not just about loving cooking.
Exactly. And one day I will eventually get back into it. I just think that now I have a lot of different. I think what I've realized is how powerful, like, having a presence can do and have an effect, and just being me and like doing what I love, and people just following that can become my income earner and my revenue stream.
So because I as well as being a writer, I'm a teacher, and everyone knows how teachers fill their days. What does a typical day look like for you then?
For me?
Yeah.
Every day is so different. So today is interviews day. So I had an interview in the morning. I've got another one in the afternoon. So I've got days so Monday is generally like my admin day. So I'll just go through all my emails and work through everything, any invoicing, payments, whatever. I'll sort that out on Monday. And then the rest of the week, like, I could be scheduling in a shoot, creating like some content that I need. Just creating recipes. I write recipes on the daily, I would say, whether it's 1 or 5 or 10. And then just because of the current climate, it's very different to what my regular day would have looked like back, 2 years ago. I was pretty much traveling a fair bit, and because MasterChef is like so known in like countries like India, Malaysia, like Singapore, all the Asian countries, and then also like in Dubai, UK, it's massive. I was doing a lot of work overseas, so travel was a massive part of my day-to-day activity. But now it's there's days where I just like chill out and not do anything.
Yeah.
And just like annoy my boyfriend who's working, but it's very different. But I would say generally every day it's about giving back, sharing, and just being a positive person. Just share my day with everyone, and just like if I go for a run, I'll say, hey, I went for a run. And then I'm going to eat something after this. I think you should too, kind of thing.
And what do you think have been your greatest successes over the last 4 years, and maybe the greatest challenges? And it depends on how we define success, of course. But what to you is your greatest success?
I think the greatest success for me is by giving everything a red hot go. Like, for example, the dumplings, which we stock in Coles and Woolworths, so the manufacturer, Golden Wok, they basically make the dumplings, and then I am the face of it. I promote it, I endorse the brand, I come up with the recipes and all that. That wouldn't have come about if I didn't meet them at a charity event and we started talking about dumplings randomly, and then that kind of eventuated. And last year alone, they made $21 million in sales of dumplings.
Wow.
It is the highest selling item in the freezer section in Coles and Woolworths.
Yeah.
In that category. So that for example, I think would be one of the greatest successes, though not fully mine. And I'm a part of it. I think that wouldn't have happened had I not given it a go at the start. The shows, like the TV shows, never thought I was going to be like a media person. To be perfectly honest, never thought I'd be fun and comfortable in front of the camera. But I guess MasterChef kind of like kickstarted that whole thing. And after like getting 5 cameras shoved in your face in the first 2 weeks, you kind of get used to it. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm okay with the camera right in front of me. Yeah. Like giving a crack at we've always wanted to host. I think the main thing for me is like I want to share what I know. And in whatever capacity, whether it's owning a restaurant, whether it's writing a book, whether it's like talking about food, hosting a podcast, whatever. TV was always one of them because I thought, it's such a good way to show people and get a good reach through shows. So we management and we came up with a concept called Asia Unplated, which is run for 2 seasons on SBS Food. And it's shown overseas. So, I think that's great. Like, it's all about Asian food and cuisine. And, Asia is like the largest continent in the world. And there's so many different cuisines that fall under it. So, why not explore that region? Not many people have done that. So, and I'm not saying I'm an expert in it, in all Asian cuisines, but that's where we get like guests in and where they come and share their knowledge of that particular cuisine or food or where they came from. So I guess those are probably my 2, proudest ones. There's a lot that that I do that I don't probably talk about in public. Like, there's a lot of government work that we do. We've cooked for a lot of really cool people, but also people in high power, like diplomats, ministers, and all that sort of stuff. We've done a lot and traveled to overseas for work as well, which is one of my favorite things to do.
Wow, what an amazing about turn that you would never have imagined probably before you entered that this is what your life would look like.
No, and then now, I sort of like think. So I'm like about to launch a new homeware brand because this sort of came about through COVID because I was like, do you know what, like Dana, you really like entertaining. I love entertaining. Like I love having people come over and just feel so welcomed in the house. Like creating the atmosphere, not just the food, but the atmosphere, making them feel comfortable, pouring their drinks, making them feel so welcome. Like, it's such a treat to come to your house kind of thing. And from there, I've sort of built this brand, which I will launch as soon as I'm able to. And it's all homewares, which hopefully will expand.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's giving it a go as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
Maybe when I speak to you in a year's time and it's all successful, then we can put that on the list.
Yeah, that's right. Well done. Just as a last question, do you think that anyone can be a really good chef or cook?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. I think it definitely comes from the old saying, practice makes perfect. I think a lot of, it's like how you can teach yourself to sing. Like, I'm not a good singer, but I know if I taught myself, I probably could. Like, I can hold a tune. I think if you can definitely teach yourself a lot of things. You can teach yourself anything, really. It's whether or not you want to do it. I find, it's and a lot of it comes from understanding the basics. Go back to the basics. Do before you take that leap. Just like it's baby steps. You gotta learn the fundamentals of everything, like in anything, business, music, dancing, whatever. You just gotta know the basics, and I think anyone can be a great cook if they're willing to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you, Diana. I appreciate. I know you. As you say, it's interview day, so you probably get all talked out. But I really appreciate your time
No, I love it. And all different questions. That's great.
and your generosity with what you've shared with me. So thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks, Red.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Diana Chan. If you want to experience all the greatness for yourself, which of course you do, you can follow Diana on Instagram at diana.chan.au and see what she's up to for yourself. As for me, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. And if you want to read the chat, you can head to www.conversationwithachef.com. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats. And of course, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or click follow on Spotify so I know you're there. Once again, thank you. Have a great day. See you next time.